Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm so glad you came back. Today is the official kickoff of my brand new Halloween DIYs. So I'm really excited to show you what I've done today. I love Halloween, so you're gonna see that I'm having a lot of fun creating these. So for today's episode, I am all about Kirkland's. I've gone on their website. I've chosen my top favorite DIYs, although I love all of them. Not DIYs, home decor items, although I love all of them. I've tried to recreate them for less, and of course, I'm in Canada, so we don't have Kirkland's, so my only option is to recreate them. So let's get crafting. So for this first DIY, I'm going to be making kind of like a Halloween pumpkin topiary. So this here is my inspiration for what I'm going to be making, and hopefully I nailed it. So I'm using this wooden pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint it out in black. Now I am using Rust-Oleum chalk paint in charcoal black. I just love the way this looks. It's a nice matte finish and it dries fast, and a little goes a long way. So I just paint the whole piece in this color. So again, I will need 3 pieces, so this is one of the pieces that I'm using. So for the second part of the topiary, I'm going to be using these 2 wooden pieces from the Dollar Tree. They're wooden pumpkins. One is just a plain pumpkin, and the other one is the same pumpkin as before. Now I do want this to be the larger piece, so I'm combining both, and I like the texture of the top one, so I do want to add it to this as well. And I will be painting out this in orange, but I do add a little bit of brown and black acrylic paint because the orange acrylic paint that I have is really strong and bright, so I just want to dull it down a little bit. So before I paint it, I do go ahead and I scrape everything off that needs to be scraped off, and I glue the pieces together. The first time I try to glue them, hot glue them, I did not line up the stems, so I have to line up the stems, and that way they line up nicely. I will wind up cutting the stems off, but I didn't want to do that until I put the whole topiary together. So once this piece is done, I go ahead and I use this metal pumpkin from the Dollar Tree again. This I only saw this year and I really liked it. I was going to make something different with these, but I just didn't get a chance to, so I thought I would use it for this DIY. And again, it has that texture that the other two pieces have, so I thought the top having even a little bit more texture would be really nice, but I wasn't a fan of the yellow, so I do wind up painting over the yellow parts, well, the entire piece, and just this warm white from the Dollar Tree. It's just an acrylic paint. It's like an antique white almost. Now this piece did come with a bit of a stem, so I wound up cutting that off with some wire cutters and kind of ripping it off too. It's just hot glued on there, so it's not too hard to rip off. So once that's dried and painted and dried, oops, I go ahead and I assemble the topiary. So now here's where I'm trying to see how I'm going to put them together, what I need to cut off, what I need to add, where I need to cut it off. So I decide that I'm going to, again, cut that stem off. So I go ahead and I do that. And I just have these miter shears that are really good for doing stuff like this. And they're pretty easy to cut with these. And then I hot glue the black pumpkin on top. Now, the only tricky part of all of this, now you probably didn't even have to cut that off. You could have just hot glued on there, but I might use that little orange for something else. So I always kind of, if I can save little bits and pieces, I always save them. So anyway, I hot glue that onto the bottom piece. The tricky part was the top piece because it was metal and hot gluing metal is quite hard. So I kind of had to get creative with that. So originally I thought I could glue back the pick and just have it kind of stick to the pick, but it didn't work. So then I went ahead and I just stuck some paint stir sticks onto the back, and then I was able to glue the top part. The two tricks with this was it was the metal and also the texture in the bottom pumpkin, and the fact that this one is a little bit curved, so it was hard to get it to be the same level as the other ones and have it kind of stick nicely. So by gluing that paint stir stick, I was able to have a place to attach it at the top and a place to attach it at the bottom. Hopefully when you see it, it makes sense. Now to make sure that it sticks completely, I did tie a little bit of floral wire around the top, so just where the stem was and where the stir stick met the stem. And then I just kind of painted over top in some black just to hide the floral wire and a little bit of the stir stick that was showing. You could use weld bond and this would also probably stick to it right away, but I thought this way it just won't move at all. So then I slid it over top of the stem and I hot glued it at the stem and at the bottom in 2 spots just to make sure that it really sticks. And that's all there was to assembling the topiary. And then I had to add a base so that the topiary would stand on its own. So for the base, I just kind of measured out, as you can see here, it's not the best angle, but I kind of measured out how many tumbling blocks I needed. And then I glued them all together and I painted them black and orange. And I just hot glued them. I'm using Gorilla Glue, so I'm hoping that the hot glue sticks. If you wanted a more permanent hold and to be sure that it would stick forever, then you can use some Gorilla Glue or E6000, whichever permanent glue that you have, and kind of do a combination of hot glue and that glue. But I was going to try this and see how it went. And so far it's been holding up okay. I've had it for about a week made and it hasn't come apart, so I think we're good. So I glued 5 pieces together lengthwise for each side. And then I just glued them to the base of the pumpkin. And after seeing it completed, I saw that I wanted to add a little bit more to the pieces. So I went ahead and I added some black acrylic paint to the orange and white pumpkins to add a bit more texture and depth. So because I am using the small tumble blocks, they weren't quite strong enough for this topiary. So just to do a single layer. So then I wound up adding a whole bunch at the back. Now, if you use bigger ones, you won't have to add as many, but just a little bit more to make it stand so it doesn't fall over. And then the pumpkins needed to be Halloween, not just kind of fall colored. So I have these spiders that I got. Well, this one is from my kids' spider collection. They said they didn't want this one, so I spray painted him black. He was red. And then I also added some of the spiders from the Dollar Tree that were on little clips, and I hot glued them to the pumpkin. So here's the finished topiary with all of the spiders and all of the scary stuff. Love it. I'm so in love with this piece. It's going to look great in my Halloween decor. Let me know what you think of this one. So here's the next dupe. My colors are a little bit different, but I think I nailed this one too. For this dupe, I'm actually using this sign from the Dollar Tree just for the welcome because I couldn't find the metal welcome words this time around. I did actually find them after I made this DIY, but anyway. And this little pumpkin sign as well from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to basically, this is the easiest DIY ever. I'm going to take that welcome sign off, give it a little bit of a coat of paint, and I'm going to give this Got a coat of paint, add some ribbon, and that's it. But it's a really cute little Halloween. It could be for a tray, it could just be a little sign, whatever you wanted it to be. So for the paint, I am using the Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal paint, chalked paint in charcoal. And I'm using this paint because, again, as I said, it dries fast, it gives me that matte color, and I think it looks great with purple, and I'm adding purple accents. So the welcome sign, I wanted it to be purple, but the only purple that I had was a really light purple from the Dollar Tree, so I added a little bit of black into it just to make it a bit darker. And I'm not fully covering it, I just wanted it to kind of have like a purple metallic look, if that makes sense to you. So I did 2 coats of it, but again, they were kind of very light coats, so you still have a little bit of that metal shining through. So I wind up hot gluing this welcome sign, and I want it to be kind of diagonal a little bit on to the pumpkin, and then I use some Halloween ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I cut it into strips, and then I hot glue it so it looks like a little bow at the top. And then I also add a spider, and it was one of the spiders from the Dollar Tree that came on the clips. And so here is the finished piece. Like I said, really simple but very cute little DIY. Again, you could use them in a tray, you could use them as a piece of decor, really up to you, but I love the way he turned out. Although this guy isn't as big as the original, I think I nailed him too. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. This is another great dupe because I am using this mason jar from the Dollar Tree. It came during, I believe this is the Canada Day one, and I bought it at that time. I bought it because I love the shape of it, so I bought a few of them thinking that I might be able to use them for Christmas as well. I was going to do one more fall using these, but I just ran out of time. So there's just so much time, so only so little time that I can do these DIYs, and I try to do as many as I can, but sometimes you just don't have the time. So anyway, I'm using this, and to me, it kind of looked like a skull if you flipped it over. So I thought this would be perfect for this dupe. Now, this skull is, I was going to use a skull because the Dollar Tree has the skull cutouts, but I thought I had purchased it, but I guess I didn't. I looked and I couldn't find it unless one of the kids took it and it's in their playroom. I didn't look in their playroom. But anyway, I may do with this mason jar. So I mean, it's a good idea if you have these hanging around and you can reuse them. Why not? Because we all have so many craft supplies, and well, a lot of us do. So if you can use them or reuse them, it's great. So I'm just cutting off the top to make it a little bit more rounded, and I'm using that pumpkin form, the metal one, to create the top of the head. And just to create a curve, you could do it freehand however you want to. And then because of my injury in the summer, I still had a hard time cutting this. So I had my husband actually cut this out. So I don't have a recording of that, but he just used an X-Acto knife to cut it out. But you just needed to press a little bit more, and I just didn't have the strength in my arms to push and cut. So once that was cut, I wound up just painting the jar or the skeleton in a chalked white paint from Decor. It's that little small bottle that you can see in the corner. And I painted it all. I just did one coat because I wasn't doing the side with the Canada Day decals on them. I just did the other side. So after I painted it, I'm measuring out for the hat because I want it to kind of sit on top of his head. I'm using these wood planks from the Dollar Tree. They were, I believe, in a pack of, it'll show in a second, in a pack of 8, no, 6, and for $1.25, and I'm gonna use 3 of them. So then I'm just cutting out the hat so that it fits the head, just kind of drawing a little curve because I wanted to kind of sit, but I want it to sit upside down. So it kind of fits the head, but I wanted the hat to be flipped upside down. You'll see what I mean. And again, I'm using my miter shears to cut this and the X-Acto knife just to kind of help where the cut was and where I couldn't get with it. My husband wound up having to help me a little bit. And then I just used my X-Acto knife just to kind of scrape it down so that it was nice and smooth. So I wound up playing around with his hat. I thought I was going to make it this wide, so I added one of these garden picks from Dollarama to make it this wide, and then I wound up taking that pick out and making it less wide, but I'll show you kind of what I did to attach them at the back too, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I did there. I do, like I said, wind up removing that middle piece, but I paint everything black in acrylic black paint. And before I paint it, the reason I'm adding these things to the back is so that it's nice and sturdy and it doesn't kind of move around and fall apart. And like I said, I painted it with acrylic black paint. No, I'm not using acrylic black paint, excuse me. I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal paint. And I paint it in black and then I just do an outline of it with a dry brushed white. And again, it's that Decor Art white chalk paint. And there it is, another bloop of mine. I don't even know what I was doing. I was about to draw and then boom, I spilled all of my paint because I left it open. It got on my feet, on my legs, on the floor, and somehow I wound up having it in my hair too. Anyway, thought I'd leave it in there because, you know, I am accident prone. So then I just used a pencil and I just outlined what I wanted him to look like. Now I freehanded this. I kind of looked at a picture of a skeleton and kind of drew my inspiration from there. You can definitely use your Cricut and make it be really perfect and really straight. It's totally up to you. This is just my interpretation of the dupe. So this is the amazing part of making your own DIYs. You know, the world is your oyster. You can get as creative as you'd like. And then I use a Sharpie just to outline everything in black, and then I paint in the eyes and the mouth and the nose. Once I paint everything, I add a little bit of dry brushed black to the entire piece, and then I cut strips of orange ribbon from the Dollar Tree to give him a little bow. So once this was all done, I wound up attaching the hat and I just hot glued the hat to the top. And I unfortunately don't have footage of this. I just added a little row of black tumble blocks at the bottom, just tumble blocks that I painted in black. It doesn't really hold it up. It's more for decor. If you want it to hold up, then you kind of want to do like a square at the bottom because it is a heavier piece just because of those planks and the jar itself is heavier. But here's what he turned out like. So I'm going to say I sort of nailed this one because I did not add the LED lights. Not that I couldn't have, but I just My arm is not strong enough to try and cut this, and I didn't want to involve my husband to try and carve out the mouthpiece. You could probably do it. The wood is thin enough that I think with an X-Acto knife you could do it, but it's like I said, it wasn't something that I wanted to bug my husband on. So, and because my arm is still not 100%, I can't be pushing that hard. So I left the LED lights out of there, but what you could do is add the LED lights, like just little candle lights from the Dollar Tree, put them in the back and just cut out the mouth, and that'll create that for you. And you could get another piece and, you know, close it all in and have it closed in and have the LED lights be in there too. So the options are there, and this gives you an idea. And again, I'm using one of these pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and again I'm painting it in the pumpkin orange and then going over top of it with some espresso and some black paint. And all I do is I just add them on and then I kind of wipe them off with a baby wipe. I love using the baby wipe to blend in the colors. It just does such a great job. And after that's done, I have this hat from the Dollar Tree. It is a wooden witch's hat. It was again one of those wood cutouts that the Dollar Tree has. And I'm painting this one out in black to use as his hat. Once that is completed, again, I freehand draw his face. I'm just using a ruler to make sure that I'm putting it in the same eye level, and then I do his nose and his mouth. Again, you could use your Cricut for this and it would be really perfect. Mine is not perfect, but I love him nonetheless. Once I finish that, I attach his hat. I kind of toyed with the idea of putting it on sideways, but I'm happy with it being straight up. You could again do whatever you'd like. And then I just attach the bottom pieces for it to stand up on its own. And again, I'm using those tumble blocks because they're just great to use. And they're so inexpensive and they go such a long way. Like you can use them for they're so versatile. I guess that they go such a long way, but they're so versatile. And all I'm doing is I'm using 4 of them for the bottom piece, and then I wind up adding another piece at the very bottom to kind of another 2 pieces to kind of make it stand up kind of so it's a square piece that they're on top of. And I paint them in black and hot glue everything together, again using that Gorilla hot glue. And here's what he looks like. And here's the final dupe. I really like the way mine turned out too. So let me know what you think. Mine was 100% almost cheaper. It only cost about $1.50 to make. And so here's my last Kirkland's dupe. This is like almost not even, it's just such an easy dupe. So all I'm doing is I've got some branches from the garden that I just picked up. We had a nice windstorm, so I had tons of branches. And I have this little crate from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spray paint both in that Tremclad black, flat black paint. And once I do that, I assemble the pieces together. So I was closing that paint because even after the spill, I still hadn't closed it. But anyway, so I'm going to put some floral foam into the crate, and then I'll add some rocks on the top just to hide it. And then I'll put the branches in, and then I'll put the rocks over top to hide the little floral foam. And then I attach some spiders to this. I wanted to attach little birds, but I couldn't find them, so they didn't have them at the Dollar Tree. And they had the wood bats, but they weren't big enough, so I just used these little spiders. And again, it's those ones with the clips on them, but I took the clips off and I hot glued them. And that's all there is to this one. The rocks actually serve 2 purposes. They keep the piece from toppling over because the branches are so tall, and they hide the floral foam. And here it is completed. I really like the way it turned out. It's very cute. It's very kind of spooky, but yet very simple. And I left the spiders purple because I thought they would just add a little pop of color, and I'm loving the purple and the black together this year. So thank you again for watching, and you made it to the end. It was a longer video today. I hope you enjoyed my Kirkland's dupes. Here they are again, all together. I think they're going to look fabulous in my home decor, and they were definitely cheaper than what the costs of some of these were. So awesome all around. Thank you so much. Leave me a comment below letting me know what you think, and give me a big thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And okay, again, thank you for watching till the end of the video. You guys are awesome. You really help support my channel. I need your support so I can keep on creating. So thank you so much. And don't forget my coffee link at the bottom. I am doing another episode next week for Halloween. It's going to be indoor and outdoor, so make sure you stick around for that. Hey, did you click that notification bell? Because if you didn't, that's what lets you know when I post those videos. They are always on Sundays though, unless I do a bonus video here and there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe and keep watching.